Hi. Look, I want to tell you a story that took place thousands of years ago in the Middle East, on the ancient Silk Road, very close to Babylon. Now, this is a story that I learned about and read in a book by Og Mandino. The book was written back in 1968, which, by the way, was also the year I was born, so it's really old. Pages are yellow. If you find this book in a used bookstore, it's probably 25 cents, which is an absolute shame. It is a fantastic story, and the underlying theme is going to catch you by surprise. Now, since you already listen to podcasts, what I'm going to do is read the highlights of the story here for you, because I want you to take the lessons in this book and I want you to carry them forward in your life. As we approach the new year, this is the perfect time to give you some new energy, direction, and wisdom. The lessons in this book have served me very well, both in business and in life, and I want them to serve you too. The main character in the story is a young camel boy. His name is Hafid. He's working for a very, very wealthy and successful merchant who travels the Silk Road with his caravan. And his name is Pathros. Now, Pathros owns multiple warehouses in multiple cities. He has different trade caravans that go to different places in the Middle East. He owns homes and palaces in different places. So by anybody's measure, he's an extremely wealthy man. Well, one day, the poor camel boy, Hafid, approaches his boss, Pathros, the wealthy merchant. He says, "Look, I want to learn to be a salesman like you." Now, Pathros is curious about this massive goal from this young camel boy, so he gives him a challenge. Now, first, I want you to think for a second about the job of a camel boy. Your job is to take care of all of the southbound product from a northbound camel. You know what I mean? It is less than a low-level job. It has to be the lowest of the low. For sure, Mike Rowe from Dirty Jobs would have done an episode on Hafid, right? Now, you might be thinking, oh, cool your jets, Rubino. Hold on. I don't want to be the greatest salesman in the world. I'm trying to run a successful contracting business. I want a trade company to build, not a sales company. I get it. But what I'm going to do as I read the story is replace the word salesman anytime it comes up. And I'm going to put the word businessman or business person in there because the lesson is the lesson. You'll see what I mean as you follow me on this journey. The book, once again, is called The Greatest Salesman in the World. And it's the story of how a young man transformed himself and maybe did something greater as well. I actually hope you read the book yourself one day. But as we prepare for Christmas this year, I thought this would be the most meaningful end-of-year gift I could give to you and my audience. You know, in past years, I reread 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. Last year, I did The Grinch Who Stole Christmas. But this is a little more meaningful. Now, whether you listen to the Profit Toolbelt podcast or the Cabinet Maker Profit System podcast, or maybe you're a member of Contractor Strategy Group on Facebook, either way, I want you to have this as a gift from me and my family to you and your family as we look at next year coming at us, because 2024 is coming. So this story has two parts. In the first part, you'll follow the camel boy, Hafid, as he gets given his first task on getting to the next level in his life. His boss, Pathros, gives him an expensive robe and a donkey and tells him to go out to the small town just over the hill. Now he's given very specific instructions. Sell the cloak for as much as you can, and I'll give you the difference between what it cost me and what you sell it for. If you sell the cloak, I'll trade you to be the greatest the greatest business person in the world. But if you fail, you go back to being a camel boy. Please remember, what does a camel boy do, right? And of course, there's a love interest in the story, Leisha. Her dad's loaded too, and they can't hook up if he's a poor, broke loser. So there's a lot at stake. So off he goes with the cloak and the donkey to this dusty, dirty little forgotten town. None of the other businessmen in the caravan bother going to this town because it seems useless. They can never sell their cloaks there. But this boy, Hafid, well, his back is up against the wall. It's do or die. His entire future is wrapped up in this one red cloak. That story sounds familiar, doesn't it? Like you and me, he's a businessman, and he's about to walk into the challenge that we all face every day. No one knows who you are. No one cares. People want what they want, and they want it cheap or they want it free. He has no connections in this town. At this point, he has no training at all. He's just doing what you and I have already done to get us to this point in our lives, where we're listening to this podcast together across the country. He got where he is on his wits, and you and I have gotten where we are on our wits. So he goes into the town. Pathros gives him a bit of cash so he can eat and sleep. Day one, He goes out into the market with everybody else, full of energy and enthusiasm. By the end of the day, he's broken and dejected. Nobody will listen. Everybody, they make fun of his cloak and they tell him it's garbage. And if they do have a conversation with him, all they want to do is lowball him. Sound familiar? But he's not discouraged. He has a challenge in front of him. He needs to succeed, or he'll never find a way to be with Leisha. Well, day 2 comes along. Out he goes into the market with the same energy and enthusiasm, but again, he's defeated. Even though he sees other people buying and selling all around him, he just can't make a deal. Day 3, same thing. Day 4, same thing. How about you? Have you ever felt like every day you showed up to work, you were just pushing a lead ball uphill in the sand? Well, on day 5, he decides to change his tactics and he goes door to door with new energy. But the door gets slammed in his face. People yell at him. Somebody tries to steal the cloak. He gets spit on. At this point, he realizes he's failed. It is back to being a camel boy, and he'll never be with his true love, Leisha. He has failed. Now, at this point, he is broke. He doesn't have any money to stay that night, but he does buy some stale bread and go to find somewhere to sleep in an alley where he can at least tie up his donkey. As he's about to fall asleep, he hears a baby crying. He looks across the road and sees a young family, and they are terribly poor. And there, lying in a manger, is a little baby. As you follow along in the story, you learn that Hafid gets up, unties the pack holding his precious cloak, takes the cloak, and wraps the baby. This move signals his greatest defeat. He now has to go back and tell Pathros not only did he not sell the cloak, he gave it away for nothing to a family who has nothing. How Pathros reacts and the lesson learned I'm going to leave to you to discover in the book. If you have even a shred of a belief of a higher power, you're going to love this book. Pathros goes on to share, well, I'm going to let that sit with you. But there are 10 lessons. I'll give you a short summary of each of those lessons, but I will also tell you I am robbing you blind, and I'm cheating you out of learning by doing this. The book, The Greatest Salesman in the World, is an absolute hidden treasure. Og Mandino has put together a story that should compel you. There is most likely a 100% chance you would never buy this book, nor would you read it if it was given to you for free, because the title implies that you want to be the greatest salesman in the world. But you don't listen to this podcast because you want to be the greatest salesperson in the world. You want to be the greatest business person in your city, right? If you have to listen to even 2 of my episodes, you would find out that my goal is to inform, educate, and inspire you. I want you to move from running a crew to being a business person who just happens to run a construction company, a contracting company. I actively work to remind you that you've created something unique and that you should be very proud of everything you've accomplished. Even though you and I have never met face to face, well, most of you, I've talked to quite a few, here's what I know about you. You work hard. You are a person who keeps his word. People love to deal with you. You focus on quality. Your family loves you and they miss you because you work too much. They are your biggest fans and they want you to work less and appreciate the success you've already achieved. And you're listening to this show at least a little bit so you can finally figure out how to work smarter, not just harder all the time. Now, you've certainly figured out how to work harder. And you know that's true because the friends and family that do comment, well, they look at you in amazement when they see how much energy you put into this business. So you and I are a lot alike. We could put a big check mark beside working hard. But now's the time to share those secrets to working smart. And that's what takes us to the second part of this story. And those secrets start with mindset. There are 10 secrets Pathros shares with Hafid. This is a quick summary of those 10 secrets. They're called scrolls. So imagine you found a heavy wooden box with like an ancient lock on it. And when you opened it, inside you found 10 leather scrolls with words of wisdom on them that have been passed down through the ages. I want you to listen to the rest of this story, but I also want you to buy the book or read it or buy or have the audio in hand and listen while you're driving to your in-laws' house this Christmas. Listen to it while you're walking the dog. Listen to it on the treadmill. Just listen to it. You can listen to it while you're going from job site to job site. Listen to it when you're normally supposed to be listening to my podcast. It would be more valuable. I don't care how you get it into your head. Just get this book inside your head. Here's a quick summary of the 10 scrolls and what you'll understand. So here we go. The Greatest Salesman in the World is a classic self-help book by Og Mandino. And it's built around 10 ancient scrolls that have valuable life and business lessons. Here's a summary of each of the 10 scrolls. We'll start with a scroll marked 1, of course. The power of good habits. So this scroll emphasizes the importance of having good habits, starting with the affirmation that I will form good habits and become their slave. The scroll encourages us to focus on the present and recognize that the only control you and I have is over our current actions and thoughts. Then we go to the scroll marked 2, love. This scroll emphasizes the role of love in one's life and work. The central message is, I will greet this day with love in my heart. It encourages you and I to approach others with empathy, understanding, and kindness, and having positive relationships and trust. Just exactly what you want to do when you come home. Give your wife and kids a hug and a kiss. The scroll marked 3, persistence. This scroll underscores the value of persistence in achieving success. The key message here is, I will persist until I succeed. It teaches that failures are stepping stones to success, and it reminds us to have unwavering determination. I want to remind you that on this podcast, you've heard me say that when I come up against a roadblock, it is my job, either on my own in my business or as your business coach, to show you how to go over it, under it, through it, around it, or redefine it so it works in our favor. That's how we deal with those things. When you listen to Paul Akers, who wrote a book called 2 Second Lean, speaks very specifically about our job as business owners is to find a bottleneck, solve the bottleneck, and then look around and find the next one because it's coming. The scroll marked 4 is to master your emotions. This scroll urges us to master our emotions. The central message is this: I am nature's greatest miracle. It's an excellent scroll. It reminds us of our uniqueness and our ability to control our reactions to the world. And it emphasizes the importance of self-acceptance. What's self-acceptance? That's where you go through the day saying, I'm okay, you're okay. The opposite is where you walk around saying, I'm not okay, you're okay. Think about that for a moment. The scroll marked 5, the time of decision. This scroll reminds us of the significance of being decisive. The main affirmation is this: I will live this day as if it is my last. It encourages us to take the day, seize the day, live in the present moment, make decisions that align with your goals and values. That's the scroll that reminds you to sit down with your son and play Lego. Sit down with your daughter and have that tea party. Sit down with your wife and listen to her day. I could work on that one myself. The scroll marked 6, embrace the present. It emphasizes the need to live in the now. The central message for this one is, today I will be the master of my emotions. It advises us against dwelling on the past, the mistakes we made in the past, decisions made in the past, or future anxieties, and instead focus on controlling my emotional state in the here and now. Then we've got the scroll marked 7, these ancient scrolls. This one's the power of laughter, folks. I'm not kidding. This one reminds us of the power of laughter. The key message is, I will laugh at the world. So folks, when you hear my podcast and towards the end I do dad jokes and you think, hey Rubino, buddy, can we take this seriously? I'm trying to turn around a business here so that I can take home profits to my family, so that I can support the people who work for me and do a great job for my customers. Dom, why are you always making jokes? This scroll reminds me I will laugh at the world. It encourages us to find humor in life's challenges, lighten my emotional burden, and promote a positive attitude. And you guys have heard me say this before. I joke around a lot, but I'm serious as you know what. But I joke around a lot. The scroll marked 8, multiply your value. Now, you guys heard just a couple episodes ago, I put out an episode, how to hire your first assistant, estimator, project manager, if you can't afford it. Well, the world is going to pay for that position. Go back and listen to that one. The scroll marked 8 says, multiply your value. That's what we talk about, buy your time back. The importance of increasing your value in the world. The central message in this scroll, today, I will multiply my value 100-fold. The scroll advises, reminds us to strive for excellence and exceed expectations in everything we do. Then we've got the scroll marked 9, the secrets of wealth. Now this particular scroll talks about the accumulation of wealth. The main affirmation is, I will act now. Successful people take action. I learned that from my business partner and mentor, Brian Tracy. I worked with Brian side by side for 13 years. Brian always talked about the same thing. Successful people take action. They don't wait. I will act now. It underscores the importance of taking immediate, purposeful action to get the financial success and abundance that you want. And think about the people who win the lottery and then they're poor, even worse, a year later. It's because they don't understand the basics of financial management. I don't want to talk about it here, but we talk about the end of job report. We talk about the go back report, the 1 hour calculator, the dashboard. That's what this is about. Anyways, we come to the scroll marked 10. The miracle of the scrolls. The final scroll talks about how every scroll builds on the last. Cumulative impact, right? One scroll builds on the next, builds on the next. You have a strong foundation and you can build a tower to the skies. The central message of this is, I will persist until I succeed. Say that with me. I will persist until I succeed. It reminds you and I that mastering these principles in these scrolls will lead to a life of fulfillment, abundance, and lasting success. And don't forget, people around you are watching you. Your kids are watching you. Your family's watching you. Your employees are watching you. When you live by these values, they will learn about these values. It's how we pay it forward. Look, I hope you enjoyed this story, and I really want you to read the book and enjoy the scrolls. The power of the scrolls is incredible. What's missing is the discipline that Og Mandino puts into the scrolls. You have to read the book or listen to his audio to get that. Now, I first read this book when my uncle told me to change the way I was thinking. I used to be on his framing crew, and then I left to go into my own home renovation and painting business. He introduced me to his accountant. His accountant put me onto this book because I had to stop failing at business. I was fed up with failing, guys. Fed up with it. I was busy. I wasn't profitable. I couldn't even pull wages, but everybody loved me. I got lots of referral business, but I couldn't make any money. And so my uncle, my mentor, the business owner, put me onto his accountant who put me onto books like this, and it changed my life forever. I hope I have a little bit of that role for you. The reason I brought this book forward is because I want to give you something meaningful this Christmas. I want you to have something you can take to your family and something that can impact the legacy of your last name. I don't have to do anything fancy. As I said in past years, I've read poems and, I love Christmas. I think everybody knows that. But this time I want this to be a very meaningful Christmas. I want you to listen to that book, or I want you to read that book. And from my family to yours, I want you all the success that you dream for at night when you go to sleep. I really appreciate the fact that you listen, the fact that you're in my audience. I don't take it for granted. I really wish I could sit across the table and have a glass of wine or a cup of coffee with everybody face to face. And I actually look forward to the day we can do that. So let's leave it there. Merry Christmas. Thank you.